Since I released my first video on ChibiMation a few months ago, many things have happened to the development of the game and its management. I never expected that my short rant would reach more than 100,000 views and spark a chain of events that changed the direction of the game. For those of you who are unaware, ChibiMation is an upcoming dress-up game inspired by the Gacha Life series. It was created back in 2021 by the Gacha YouTuber Beowulf and the programmer Famlol Studios. The game is advertised as the largest 2D character creator that promises 15,000 plus assets with unlimited layers. From the future of ChibiMation to Beowulf's departure and the allegations that came out about him, I will be discussing everything within this video. So sit back, relax, and I will show you the truth behind Beowulf, the founder of ChibiMation. Disclaimer before we start, I don't want anyone harassing or conducting a witch hunt against anyone mentioned in this video. I hold no ill will towards the ChibiMation team. Of course, I do have my own criticisms of them. However, they do not have the power that Beo has. I want the game to succeed, and I do see that the staff have the passion and motivation to deliver a good product. It is only Beowulf that I have big problems with, but that doesn't mean I want you guys to send him hate or harassment. This is a video meant to update people on what happened and to criticize Beowulf's actions. First, let's talk about the immediate aftermath that happened when I published my video, Where is ChibiMation? I started receiving comments from people who were frustrated with the direction of the game, and there were some former volunteers speaking out about their experiences. A common theme began to emerge, which was Beowulf's lack of communication and inability to finish previous projects such as Androids and Gacha Shop. Once the video started getting thousands of views, people began to talk about it on the official Discord server. When I saw these messages, I started to chat with the mods and asked if I could DM one of them. One of the mods, Buttered2, agreed, so I asked him the questions that I raised in my video. My first question was about how the Ko-Fi money was spent. I asked Butter2, based on the Ko-Fi, how much went to Femlol and Dare? Or was that only for the other teams? He replied with, alright, let me quickly pull up the list. 3,300, 33% to taxes, 2,500 to free pick license, which is the background source, a phone for Fem, which he won't return unfortunately, software for Fem, which he won't refund us for, licensing stuff like filing for copyright and server stuff. $1,200, an estimate, went to tech equipment for the team, mainly designers, but everyone got the maximum of $50 to $70 each for tech stuff, if they asked for it, and $400 to paying for Android, iOS, Steam accounts, licenses to be able to publish the game. This is the list Beo gave us. The rest of the money either went to small stuff like 2 staff raffles that were years ago, or other things we needed for development. I'm pretty sure some money is left, but it's definitely nowhere near enough to fund the dev. All the money from the Ko-Fi was handled by Beowulf, so only he can address any of the questions I will have regarding the specifics. I cannot give a substantial comment on the amount of taxes paid because 1. I'm not American, 2. I'm not an accountant, and 3. I don't pay taxes yet, but I can focus on the other aspects. In total, Beo disclosed that $7,400 went to each of these aspects, with the remaining $2,600 going into 2 staff raffles and miscellaneous things needed for development. When I asked Buttered2 for clarification in regards to which specific license was bought, he stated that it was the premium one for pictures and not AI. Due to what he told me and seeing that FreePic only started introducing more AI features in 2024, we can assume that they did not pay for Premium Plus or Pro. Thus, the license must be the regular premium, which is €120.96 or $142.02 US annually, since that's the one that includes tax. Nobody but Beowulf knows when the license was bought. In order to calculate the estimated total spent on the FreePic license, we have to assume a couple of things. 1. The price has consistently been $142.02 annually. However, based on the Wayback Machine, the actual cost could be less because in 2021, the annual cost of premium was $120. For the maximum amount, we assume that Bayo bought the license in 2021 when ChibiMation first started. For the minimum amount, we assume that he bought it last year in 2024. We do simple multiplication, and here are our values. The estimated cost is greater than or equal to $142.02 and less than or equal to $568.06. In regards to the phone and software that were bought for Femlol, he disclosed to me in our DMs that $100 was paid for the OpenAI API bills for the ChibiBot, $350 for the 2022 version of the iPhone SE, and he was paid $450 in August of 2023. Femlol's total cost in his time working for ChibiMation would be $900. The copyright for the game would probably be around $350 since that is the base price. We then add these to the values we got earlier. The estimated total cost for the free pick license, Femlol's expenses, and the copyright trademark is greater than or equal to $1,392.02 and less than or equal to $1,818.08. That is hundreds of dollars less than the amount Beowulf gave to the staff. However, I saw another version of the expenses list in the FAQ channel on the ChibiMation server where it said that part of that $2,500 went to licensing payment to there. If I were to assume that the other $700 plus went to that, I have to ask, why would you pay so much to a second developer who hasn't shown himself to be trustworthy with his job? Also, I have to ask, how come there are two versions of the Ko-fi expenses? Both of these came from Bayo, so I would expect specific expenses listed. I'm open to my calculations being wrong, by the way. Maybe there were additional expenses that were not specified, or the aforementioned items were more expensive than the costs told to me and that I researched. But again, that is up to Beowulf to explain. For the tech equipment, the team was given an estimate of $1,200, but each person was given around a maximum of $50 to $70, which is fine. It's expected since most of the team are designers. I don't see any problem either with the $400 used in ensuring that the game can be published. After that, I asked about the rationale behind making Chibi High since it didn't make sense to me to make a Roblox game when Beowulf has 800,000 plus subscribers. As a large channel, I expect the monetization to be through the roof. Ad-friendly and family-friendly content? He should be highly monetized and pushed in the algorithm. So why isn't he loaded with cash? Buttersu explains with, alright, so basically after we failed with Dare, we basically realized we have barely any funds left and hiring a new dev is crazy expensive. So we need to find a way to get extra funding, but we didn't want to beg our community to donate more when we already got $10,000, which is a lot. Then Object, a Roblox game studio, reached out to us. They have previously reached out in the past, but we refused because at the time we had zero reason to make a Roblox game. But this time it was different since we basically had zero options left and Object wasn't asking for money, but a percentage cut of the earnings, so we agreed. So now Chibi High is a sort of side project that will help fund the actual game. We tried asking Object if they could do a regular game and not Roblox, and he said it was a possibility, but all of their devs work with Roblox, and switching to a different engine would be hard. However, they are helping us a ton right now, and we are waiting to hear back for a financial grant that could help us get all the funds we need, so hopefully that goes well. Object also has a lot of connections in the video game industry, which is helpful too. That clarifies the role of Chibi High in all of this. While I still think that it isn't the best way to fund ChibiMation, at least there is a reasonable explanation as to why a Roblox game is being made. Let's just hope that the financial grant is given to them, and those connections Object has can be tapped into to finish the main game. The reason Bayo couldn't fund it anymore is because his channel hasn't been doing that well lately. He had to take a few breaks for health issues, and when he came back, his viewership plummeted. He did get a few videos with 100,000 100,000 plus views, but most got 10 to 15,000, which is definitely not enough to fund a project like this, and in general, his health made it hard to upload consistently, and it's likely he won't post much anymore. Yeah, I wonder why his viewership plummeted. Look, I get that he has physical and mental disabilities such as POTS, plantar fasciitis, and DID, but from what I've seen, his videos are so easy to make. I would even argue his community makes the videos for him. If you look at Beowulf's recent content, if it's not about alters or ads for ChibiMation, it's React content. To prove my point, let's take a look at his most recent reaction video, Roasting Your Gacha OC's Themes Part 2.
They hate everyone and would absolutely mess up a customer's order just out of spite. One bad interaction and she'd be ranting about it like it was a Greek tragedy. She might even drop to her knees in despair if the customer is particularly rude. She wouldn't argue, she'd just make the customer's drink exactly as ordered, but so painfully slow that the customer regrets their existence. They look like one of those people that tries those unhinged drink combos and they just throw like mustard in the customer's drink.
He's just sitting there, commenting on OCs that his community submitted. It's not the deepest commentary, there is minimal editing involved, and the video's length is less than 8 minutes. All you need to do is set up OBS, turn your microphone on, give your reactions, edit it yourself, or send it to an editor, then upload. You're telling me you can't do a quick video like that consistently? The bulk of the content is not even made by you. You're reacting to what the people in your community make for you. I think even with the roommate problem that Beo mentioned and him having DID, you can still record once a week. If you experience chronic pain from moving, YouTube is the best job for you. Why are you spending more effort in finding a vocational job instead of focusing on your channel that has 800,000 plus subscribers and has the capacity to hit 100,000 plus views? The opportunity and money are there. All you need to do is consistently upload content. I then asked about the date on the financial grant, to which Buttertsu replied with, "No exact date, but usually an answer is given after a few months, so we are hoping to get the response in autumn. If we don't get the grant, then we will still continue working on Chibi High to get the funding and promotional media for socials to hopefully make enough revenue, so things aren't super bleak, but it would be nice to get that grant as it would help a ton." Finally, I asked about the timeline for Chibi High and his consent to having these DMs shown in the video. In terms of Chibi High's timeline, he stated, "For now, no. It's hard to predict when Chibi High will be finished for release since that's all on Object's hands, but it should be soon, hopefully this year, but we don't want to make false promises again. The main area of the game is basically finished. We have uploaded a good chunk of the assets already, and all that's left is to finalize the customization features, and Object has been giving us constant and frequent updates, so when we get more news, we will share with the public. As for the social media stuff, we want to make a good amount of videos and posts before posting them on the regular basis, because it helps with the algorithm. But thing is, we don't know if they will be posted on Beo's channel. I will ask him about it. For now, the plan is official ChibiMation social media accounts, mainly Instagram and TikTok. If we can't post it on Beo's channel, then we will probably post it on our own personal YouTube channels. Oof. Due to the fact that I thought there was going to be a response video being worked on by Beowulf, and I was working on the Cult of Wilbur Soot video, please go watch it if you're interested in seeing my crusade against random insane stans. I held off on making a follow-up. I wanted to know Beo's perspective because I have had conversations with one of the mods, a former team member, Femlol, and Soy. In these situations, I want to hear everyone's side of the story. So imagine my shock when I saw that it wasn't Beowulf who made the response, but Flotalendi. For those unfamiliar, Flotalendi is a big Gacha YouTuber who was the technical assistant for ChibiMation. Now when I saw the notification, I wasn't really surprised since I know she reports on news about the Gacha Life games, mods, and ChibiMation. However, it was the content of her videos, especially the second one, that truly shocked me. In her first video titled ChibiMation Important Announcement, Flo Talendi discusses the changes in management and the future of ChibiMation going forward. Let's take a look at key moments from it.
On August 24th, after deliberations and complaints made by the community, from audience to higher up team members, which were then relayed to Bill, they ultimately decided to step down from the director position to focus on their personal and professional life. Following such an important decision, and based on both good and past events, it has been voted by a majority by the remaining members that the project wouldn't have one leader anymore, but multiple, all of which swore to continue the project going forward.
So, officially, Beowulf stepped down from the project. I had known about this departure prior to the video coming out since Butter2 informed me. Out of respect for the team, I chose not to talk about it until the announcement became public. Based on the social media post, he left because he determined that he was not suited for the role, which is an understatement, but more on that later. The new management for ChibiMation is composed of directors, co-directors, and communicators. The directors are those that will communicate with Object on Chibihai's progress and manage the finances for both games. Buttersu was promoted to be one of the directors and is the one that I have communicated with the most. The co-director's role is to assist the directors, are responsible for managing the ChibiMation Discord and making announcements to the community. Finally, the communications team is responsible for tracking the progress on tasks, acting as HR, and creating social media content to update the community. I believe that this new management structure was long overdue, and I'm happy to see this change since I think that this will be more efficient. It will help in holding people accountable for their actions and allow for more transparency on the progress and finances of both ChibiMation and Chibihai.
So, is Bill leaving the team completely? Not quite. Sure, they may not be the face of ChibiMation anymore, but they still own the games under the company Pixel Dream Labs. So they'll still stick around and guide a new team when needed.
Guide the new team with what, exactly? Beowulf has the tendency to go on hiatus and be inactive. It's his poor decision that landed the game and the team in this situation in the first place. I understand that he does own the game, but Femlol also did at one point. ChibiMation was made both by Beowulf, who was focused on the asset designing and management, and Femlol, who was supposed to be the developer. He admitted in a conversation with Fem and Snowdust Dev that the ownership was 50-50. Femlol even noted that it was funny that he was kicked off, but Beo wasn't. For the record, I do think that based on his behavior towards the miner and the Chibi bot, that Fem was rightfully kicked off the team. Why are you flirting with the 17-year-old bot and calling it a sexy little girl, man? That's like a choice. However, considering Beo's own behavior towards work, how they treat fellow team members and critics, I don't think he should be benefiting from the game. I'll be going more in depth about his behavior when we reach that section of the video, but the way he refused to take accountability for all his actions and left them to deal with his mess speaks volumes.
Is Bill going to make a statement? Well, it depends on them. If he does, Bill would address all the accusations on his YouTube channel in the following days or weeks.
Yeah, I don't think he will. Because I asked Buttersu and he said that Beo told the team he doesn't want to.
What is Bill accused of exactly? Most criticisms surround the lack of communication within the team and with the audience, along with lack of professionalism and regular issues with trusted funds.
Well, there's also the blackmail allegations from Soy, how he lied about former team member Posea, and a couple of allegations surrounding him faking his DID. I think the most pressing allegation against him is the misuse of funds because, as I mentioned earlier, some of the total expenses don't add up.
Is ChibiMation or Chibihai cancelled or delayed? Neither are affected whatsoever, and the transfer of all files and ownership is being processed at the moment. The progress of Chibihai is untouched, as it is mostly about mapping and game mechanics now, something Object has full control of.
We all know that ChibiMation has parts of a game, but no game. This means that all the assets, backgrounds, the UI, and all the visual aspects are done. However, there's no existing code for the game to be, well, a game. For Chibi High, based on the latest previews, they are working on the models of the buildings and they should be working on mechanics such as the character creation. Since that is Object's responsibility, I expect that they should finish their tasks on time and hopefully have the game out for public release before the year ends.
What about the donations and the supporter perks? To make sure no shenanigans happen during the transfer of ownership, we will temporarily halt the Ko-fi donations until further notice. We wouldn't want the money to end up in the wrong places now, would we?
I think that it's good that they are pausing the Ko-fi because they received a lot of funds for the game and don't have a functional product out right now. It would also give them time to investigate where exactly did the money go and if Beowulf is telling the truth about how the $10,000 were spent.
And when it comes to the already gathered funds, last week Ishtar detailed on the Discord server's FAQ on how the already donated amount was spent. Let me share it here. Those are essentially estimates. What's left will be only used to renew licensing fees that are necessary for ChibiMation, for example, the iOS App Store licensing, Free Pick Premium, etc.
I really think you guys should investigate the Ko-fi. You shouldn't only have estimates. You need a detailed breakdown of the funds because that is the money of the community who supports you. I hope Beowulf will be cooperative in divulging that information. Since Flotalendi mentioned an FAQ Google Doc and linked it in the description, let's go over that before her next video. It consists of 22 questions with some that were already mentioned within Flo's video and my conversation with Buttersuit. Thus, I will only be focusing on questions that were unaddressed, but if you want to read the document in its entirety, I will link it in the description and in the pinned comment. Question number 6. Will donations be closed and will you be able to become a supporter in other ways if it does? Donations will be closed for an indefinite amount of time, because currently the team is not in need of any budget to continue its current work. Donations might open again in the future once Chibi High is finished and work begins on ChibiMation, but that is not confirmed. Becoming a supporter will not be possible after this point, but game spoilers and supporter chats will still be accessible as a server booster perk. I believe that if you do open donations again, you need to update the Ko-fi description with detailed information on how the money will be spent. No more vague terms like staff raffles, please. If any of you guys in the audience would like to see the game spoilers and supporter chats, you can boost the ChibiMation Discord server, which will grant you access to those. I have access to those channels because I donated on another account last year. So yeah, I'm really curious about where my money went, and no, I don't want a refund. I just want the game. Question 8. How long was the team aware of communication issues? We do admit that issues with Beo being gone on hiatus a lot have been known for quite some time. The team, and by extension the rest of the staff, simply didn't have courage to say anything about it for the longest time because we understood medical emergencies can never be planned. But due to the frequency of these issues, action needed to and was finally taken. While medical emergencies are not planned, Beowulf had the responsibility to state what were his health issues and how they affected his ability to work. If his physical and mental disabilities prevented him from properly managing his team, then he should have vacated from his position before this drama. The chronic illnesses have been affecting Beo for years. Therefore, it shouldn't be used as an excuse for inactivity. He made a commitment to the project and to the community to finish the game. Question 10. What are your thoughts on the comments and accusations made by ex-members/devs like Femlol? Are they true or misleading? Some statements are still somewhat misleading, but right now we're focusing on changing management since Beo has stepped down, knowing they couldn't keep up with everything. We don't know the full extent of such statements as they are scattered across social media comment sections like YouTube instead of being sent to us directly, so we cannot fully comment on them. A lot of information is something only Beo knows and the rest of the staff would not be able to deny/approve their legitimacy. This is another reason why I wanted to wait for Beowulf himself to respond. Most if not all the criticisms towards ChibiMation center around him and his decisions. If the team doesn't have exact details about how the Ko-fi money was spent, we cannot expect them to know the truth of these allegations. I do have perspectives from Buttertsu, Femlol, Soy, and Posea, people who are involved with Beo in one way or another. I want to have a fair and balanced coverage of the situation. I even told Buttertsu to tell Beowulf that I am open to having a conversation to hear his side of the story. That offer still stands, by the way. Unless Beowulf takes the opportunity to address things, all we have are the experiences and testimonies from the people around him. Question 14. Why was this decision not done sooner after so many delays and inactivity from Beo? It took the team time to not only piece all the information together, but to gather up courage to confront Beo. This was done as soon as possible as the damage had already been done and was negatively affecting the team's morale and reputation. We had hope and faith that issues with developers and Beo's health hiatuses would not hinder our progress and we would reach the final goal eventually, but recently it was agreed upon that not taking action would only make the situation worse and possibly hurt the game's chances of releasing at all. Seeing how unprofessional Beo can be with how he threatened to expose Soy's previous identity and lied about Pusea's health issues, I can understand why the team had to gather the courage to confront him. After all, it is hard to go after a guy who has hundreds of thousands of subscribers and a loyal fan base. However, with videos like mine, Soy's, Angel Edits, and more, it has done a lot of damage to ChibiMation's reputation. I think the team did a good thing in confronting Beowulf because had it only been a few people then, I doubt any change would have happened. Question 22. Why aren't designers getting paid? This position has never been advertised as a paid position. It has always been a volunteer position. This means they are not paid a salary. We do offer commissions for specific items we need, such as graphics for the game, and we would also offer incentives like the staff raffle. The staff raffle would include items like a custom role, nitro, robux, etc. I have a problem with this explanation because both the Support Us channel in the Discord and the Ko-fi description itself stated that the donations went to graphic designer pay. Please, point to me where it was explicitly stated that being a volunteer is an unpaid position. I have searched through every mention of designer since the birth of the server until the day the FAQ document was released. No mention of it being an unpaid position. I did see that Beo mentioned you can donate to the Ko-fi to financially support the designers for them to get new tech and applications. Based on the explanation here, my assumption about the staff raffles was proven right. The rewards for their efforts were luck-based, and that is an idiotic way to compensate your team. ChibiMation will not be the game that it is or have the community that it has had it not been for the hard work and creativity of the asset designers. They deserve proper compensation for their work, not a spin-the-wheel reward system of custom Discord roles, Robux, or Nitro subscriptions. It should have been money from the donations, something that would actually be useful. You received $10,000 plus. Are you being serious that you couldn't have allocated money dedicated to paying your designers based on the amount and quality of their outputs? If graphic designer doesn't mean your asset designers and instead your UI or banner designers, then that is so fucked. Pay the people who are doing the work to make ChibiMation the largest 2D character creator. After Flotalendi's important announcement video and the release of the FAQ document, she uploaded the second part to that announcement titled 3 Reasons Why Beo is no longer ChibiMation's director, which revealed damning behind-the-scenes information about Beowulf's behavior. To make matters worse for Beo, there was an accompanying Google Doc that exposes his actions. Now, the 3 main reasons are lack of professionalism, lack of communication, and overdue/cancelled payments. I'll play moments from Flo's video and refer to the Google Doc for context behind these reasons. First up, the lack of professionalism.
Being an example for the team, a fair and just leader, and most importantly, having the qualifications to take on such a position are what makes a director a good director. However, there was more than one time where Beo showed reckless behavior towards the audience and the team, and was either hypocritical or silent despite their own team's concerns and pleas. It was reported that insider info from the team server was relayed outside of said server. Doing so and being caught with evidence backing it up would usually result in being removed from the team. However, without further explanations or evidence provided, Anonymous, now one of our heads in communication, was wrongfully removed and banned from all CM-related servers, branded as a mole to the rest of the team. Beo insisted that there was evidence, but never sent it. And after realizing the mistake made, Moose was brought back with caution and despite an apology, was no longer trusted with their initial position within the team until Beowulf stepped down. This is not the first time Beowulf has shown such impulsive conduct without much research or consideration, as this specific pattern has been repeatedly spotted whenever a team member was being terminated. We can take Posia's testimony as an example.
The document expounds on this by stating, during the last few months, multiple people have criticized how the ChibiMation team is managed. In one case, it was shown that an unknown team member was leaking confidential information, which sparked a controversy for ChibiMation management. Who was the mole leaking information? On May 5th, Anonymous was removed from the management group chat. Now, this date is particularly interesting because it is the same date that Soy posted her Let's Talk About ChibiMation video, wherein she shows DMs with an anonymous mod. I find it very telling of Beo's mindset that he focused on finding the mole instead of prioritizing the criticisms and actions Soy talked about, such as the dev situation, practices within ChibiMation, the removal of her role as supporter for spreading misinformation, and more. Now let's read Beo's DMs with Buttertsu about this situation. He starts the conversation with, "Alright, how do we handle this?" Buttertsu replies with, Beo suggests, "Ban from everything?" Buttertsu says, "Maybe DM first, or is that too risky?" Beowulf says, "Way too risky." Buttertsu then states, "Cause we don't have enough evidence to say for sure." Beo then replies with, "Dude, who else would it be?" Buttertsu says it could be insanely bad if Anon is innocent. Getting their side of the story, confronting them, is too risky? Beowulf, you didn't even provide evidence to your team that it was Anonymous who was the mole. Buttertsu pointed out that there was not enough evidence to conclude 100% that they leaked information. Yet you banned them from both the ChibiMation and team servers? The proper way to handle a situation like that is to launch an investigation. You should talk to all the parties involved to get the full picture. You cannot rely on only one source because there can be bias and they may not have all the information. Continuing on, Moose did DM Beo asking for clarification on their removal from the group chat and their ban. Beo's statements towards Moose were not communicated with the rest of management. Beo says, "Can I help you?" Moose asks, "Huh? Sorry, is something wrong?" Beo replies with, "I'm just confused why you'd send me a friend request and pretend everything is perfectly fine after leaking information that was not yours to share." Moose is confused. "When did I do that? I've been in class this entire time? Sorry, what information are you talking about?" Beo says, "Anani, this is bloody embarrassing on your part." It was later confirmed with the group that the designer who leaked information was not Moose, but an asset designer that will remain anonymous for this document, a recent addition to the team. Beo says, "Update, we found the actual person. Moose is being restored with caution." I want you guys to pay close attention to the timestamps of these messages, particularly with Moose. Let's put it in the correct timeline of events. First, Beo messages Buttertsu on the course of action about what to do. Beo asks Buttertsu at around 12:55 p.m. in Moose's time zone what the right course of action will be. He's immediately thinking about banning them and seems certain that they're the mole. At around 1:01 p.m., Moose is removed from the management group chat and banned from the ChibiMation and team servers. All in the span of less than 5 minutes. Moose sends a friend request and tries to talk to Beo 20 minutes later, where we see that he's so convinced that they are guilty, he tells them, "Anani, this is bloody embarrassing on your part." Only to find out, in less than an hour later, that it was a new asset designer who spoke to Soy. "Beo, this is bloody embarrassing on your part." Moose regained their previous roles but was denied access back into the management group chat. Despite being proven innocent / not the mole, Beo was rather quick to remove and ban a member from the team. Although they did apologize, Beo still did not seem to trust Moose at all. Buttertsu asks, "Oh yeah, question, do we add Anon back to the GC? And the upload helpers GC stuff?" Beo says, "Helpers GC yes, main one no." Fluttershy replies, I'm assuming Anon is cleared now. May I know why? I'm currently talking with Anon in DMs to get all the roles back. Beo replies with, there's no real reason for them to be there. They didn't talk there. If they decide they hate us, they have a treasure trove of things to screenshot. Fluttershy ends the conversation with, I see. Now let's get the obvious thing out of the way. Moose should have had all their roles and access restored. They are part of the team, therefore they should have access to all the communications afforded to the staff. The part of Beowulf's explanation that piqued my interest was when he said, if they decide they hate us, they have a treasure trove of things to screenshot. This clearly implies that this wasn't the first time Beo has acted like this, and that there are more instances of unprofessional behavior. Instead of focusing on fixing the issues and addressing the criticisms that Soy levied at him and the management, Beowulf is more focused on damage control and saving his reputation. He was not sorry that he falsely accused Moose. He was afraid of being exposed for shitty behavior. I believe that is the only reason why he let Moose have their roles back. After that, Beo would let Moose know that they made a mistake. Beo says, hello, so someone gave me inaccurate information. I deeply apologize for jumping the gun on that. That was my fault and quite unprofessional. Despite the source being a trusted person, I should have verified it further. The hasty banning without truly confirming proof was unprofessional. The fact Beo didn't show the team any proof so we all could confirm the situation and just banned without discussion left many of us feeling guilty for doubting Moose. There's a communicator's comment attached to this section that reads, I've brought up a detail I've noticed while reading this section where it says from Beo that from that text message, it is stated that someone provided inaccurate info as to who the mole was, which is a detail that did not appear explicitly in the previous screenshots. We acknowledge that this was definitely a weird phrasing from them, as there was no one who was providing information that Moose was the accused mole. If what Tiara is saying is true, then Beo probably had bias against Moose for whatever reason. Still, it doesn't excuse him for what he did. However, if there was a trusted person whispering into Beowulf's ear, then an investigation should be conducted. It would be more difficult to move forward if the team members do not trust each other. This isn't the first time that he treated a team member poorly, though. There was a Google Doc made by Posea, who was the previous team server manager, detailing Beo's actions towards her. She had left the team in September 2024 and clarifies that while she did state her absence, her positions were removed due to conflict with Beowulf. The document reads, how it started. A group chat was created by Beowulf, including the other two team support members at the time. The chat's intention was to discuss the system we had for our team check-ins. The discussion was resolved after some clear-ups. However, I had stated my concerns regarding communication from Beo. While they do try their best, communication is not their strong suit. Beowulf says, I didn't know that was important to you guys, since nobody had mentioned they cared who it specifically it was, and I have a pretty good track record of picking people. Posea responds with, it's more of a, okay, this means we know how to adjust what we have in place to better suit all of us. I don't doubt who you pick, I think Marble was a great addition. I just personally do not remember any discussion or a heads up of, hey, I'm thinking of adding Marble to the team support. What are your guys' thoughts? If that was a discussion you had with Harry, fantastic, ignore this then. But there's nothing in the logs in the server of a discussion like this happening. I love you, Beo, and I'm so thankful for the work you do, but I feel like there also needs to be some more communication from you is all. /lighthearted. I expressed that I felt there should be more communication from them as they are the project owner and manager. Communication is an important factor to effectively run a team and get progress done. However, this was not taken well. Beo replies with, okay, I'ma be so real, why are we critiquing that I added in Marble? Like, dude, I gotta run a whole ass fucking team. I communicate almost all my plans constantly. This is not a track record issue I have. I said I'd do better about it in the future. I don't understand. This is very frustrating to me. I think when you are adding new people to the team, you have to inform the other people first. You cannot just drop someone in without warning. No offense to Marble, I'm sure they're alright, but you need to be sure that your fellow staff are okay with it. When I mean fellow staff, I don't mean you need to get the approval of everyone involved in ChibiMation. I mean other high-ranking staff like your team manager. Hosea was respectful in her message to you. All she asked was to have a heads up on it. It's not that hard to have a short conversation when adding a new person into the team. Hosea writes, after this escalated, I contacted Beo privately with an apology and explanation on my perspective of the situation. Below will be the full message I had sent. She writes, hey bro, wanted to apologize for my behavior earlier. I understand it seemed pretty rude. Though it wasn't in my intention, I will take accountability for that and properly apologize for it as it wasn't okay. But I also wanted to explain where that behavior may have come from. You know me, I have a lot of anxiety around things. So when being randomly added to a group chat without being asked, and then, from my perspective, being put on the spot for something that wasn't ever an issue until this last check-in. Personally, it felt as though I was being put at fault for everything around that issue. I'm sure this was not the case, but it just kinda stung a bit. I do apologize for seeming passive-aggressive when talking about the communication regarding adding marble and the conversation overall. I didn't mean for it to come off that way. As you know, getting tone off from messages is not my strong suit, and my tone is often not what it's intended to be. I genuinely do apologize if it came off wrong. It never is my intention. I was just both confused and a bit hurt. Being told to communicate more but not getting communication from others. I love you guys, I love the team. I just didn't really appreciate being put in such a high anxiety situation for me, only to be put on the spot for something that isn't supposed to just be on me. I don't want to cause anything between any of us, as I do care for all of you. I didn't mean to cause you frustration with that, and I do deeply apologize for that and my actions. All I ask is that you understand the position that put me in and why it may have caused those actions. I don't understand why Posea has to apologize to Beowulf. Nothing she said was rude or disrespectful. It was asking for basic communication. The sentence, being told to communicate more but not getting communication from others, tells me a lot. From the examples I brought up earlier, we know that Beo is not good with communication. How can you be telling people you gotta communicate more when you can't walk the talk? The document continues. Beo responded after informing me they would get back to me. In the screenshot, Beo says, hey, I'm gonna need a bit of time to get back to this. My emotions are not in check right now, and if I respond, it's gonna come off cold as fuck. Just know I'm not ignoring you. Hosea then writes, now, the situation in its full caused a lot of stress for me. I have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, as well as GAD, generalized anxiety disorder. Unfortunately, anxiety can both trigger or worsen IBS symptoms which occurred. I had a lot of abdominal pain and went to get it checked out. I did not stay for a long period of time as it was a simple checkup. Another health concern was brought up by the doctor, a pancreas inflammation. It was not serious and did go away after a week. Please remember this as it's important information. When I got home, Beo and I discussed things further. Below is a notice Beo had sent me regarding my positions. Beo says, okay, good. I will start this off by saying that you are not being removed from the team or the server at all, so just don't even stress over that. But when Vree brought you into the team, it was with the understanding that you were doing mentally much better and well enough to be doing work like this. I've talked with Vree and Fitz to understand what to do, because I really wasn't expecting to see you end up in the hospital over all of this, and I'm so sorry it came to that. I know living with a fucked nervous system is hell. After talking with them, I've decided it's best if you didn't have any roles in the team right now, but you're still welcome to stay in the server and participate in what we do. While I did and still do understand the concern, I personally felt both confused and hurt that my mental health was brought into the reason. My anxiety is a factor, but the main reason was my IBS symptoms, which was not new news. We went back and forth on the reason for me being checked out, which Beo kept referring to being hospitalized. At the time, I wasn't familiar with what pancreas inflammation meant and felt embarrassed by it. I know that now sounds quite silly, I apologize. So I did not go into depth on that factor of the checkup, but did explain it had to do with my pancreas after getting quite irritated with how long it was being dragged out. Below will be the conversation in full. I do apologize for my tone shift throughout. I did try to remain as professional as I could, but got irritated by the end. Hosea writes, yo, This isn't meant to be rude or disrespectful in any way, but I do just want to share my perspective, opinion, and overall feel around things, especially yesterday. Things got out of hand, and yes, I did go to the hospital shortly after due to some pain. Would just like to clarify that flare up, though, started from the anxiety. It mainly stems from another concern which I don't want to discuss. It's nothing bad, it's just personal. Though the anxiety came from being added to a group chat without suddenly and then being put on the spot for issues that weren't even issues up until this week. Me going to the hospital had nothing to do with my mental health or the situation alone. It contributed at first, but the majority of the pain and issue there was from this other health concern. I know I commented on communication from your end, and things didn't go well. While I understand that it was frustrating, Beo, you have to understand that communication hasn't exactly been a strong suit for you. Yes, you've gotten so much better at it over the last 3 years I've known you. Absolutely proud of you for that. But there are still times where communication is just missed or not done clearly, which is totally okay. That happens. That is what I was trying to get across yesterday, just as a heads up, like, hey, just so you know, this is how I see it and just wanted to inform you. It was never meant to be rude or ill-intended. I appreciate and thank you for the concern around my health, but I do ask that my health isn't chalked up to mental health alone. Yes, I've struggled with it for a while. I don't have the best track record with it, but it isn't something I appreciate being marked as the issue when it isn't. I take a lot of precautions with my mental health. I spent the past year working on it and understanding how I personally function with it. While I appreciate the concern and actions to support that concern, it's not the best actions for my health. Again, nothing of this is ill-intended or meant to be rude in any way, nor is the tone supposed to seem harsh or cold or anything like that. I'm just trying to explain my perspective and feelings regarding what happened. I do apologize again for things getting out of hand yesterday and for how I acted. I will take accountability for that. Beo responds with, I appreciate you sharing your perspective and thoughts around things. I'm sorry we didn't get the chance to resolve the initial conflicts before everything else went down. Considering the flare-up resulted from anxiety, and the conversation we had caused you that much anxiety, I still do not think a role in team support or management is a good thing for you at this time. The issues that were brought up to me by Marble and Harry were explained in a way that was kind of hard to understand. Harry expressed that he felt this way since day one about things, but after hearing your side, that was definitely something he should have brought up to you much sooner if that was the case. They asked me to talk to you, but I wanted to encourage open communication and have them talk to you. Unfortunately, they just kinda beat around the bush. When you say, I know I commented on communication from your end, I want to clarify that the reason things didn't go well is because you were witch hunting me essentially. I told you I was hurt because I was hurt. I also said I'd do better and give better heads up. I'm always happy to improve. I agree, I don't want to chalk it up to mental health alone, because it isn't mental health alone, it's mental and physical health, and I respect you keeping the details private. But a trip to the hospital over a stressful Discord talk is still alarming, and unfortunately your mental and physical health are directly related. I appreciate the apology. The reason I made the group chat was because I didn't feel it was appropriate to talk about it in chat where others could see. But I absolutely do agree I should have given a heads up on that. I apologize. Wait a minute. Pause. What the fuck do you mean by witch hunting? Let me show you guys the message they're referring to again. Point to me where the witch hunting is. This is nothing. It's a soft critique. Hosea expressed that you should communicate more. That's all there was to it. Let's move on before I lose my mind. The conversation continues with Hosea saying, again, hospital trip was pain that was from the other concern, the anxiety caused the regular flare-up, and the other concern had its own effect. Yes, there was some anxiety when being added to a GC unexpectedly, but the conversation itself didn't produce any form of anxiety. To which Beo responds with, so I want to make sure I understand this right. The anxiety caused an IBS flare-up, and then something totally unconnected to the IBS flare-up and the anxiety caused the pain that landed you at the hospital? Hosea replies with pretty much. The flare-up caused the usual pain I have from IBS, which is common for me due to have anxiety in all aspects of my life. But the other concern they brought up was the route of the abdominal pain I was experiencing. As I explained to them, I've had worse flare-ups from IBS before and never experienced that level of pain. I didn't get landed at the hospital. I noticed the unusual pain and asked my dad to take me to get it checked out. It was nothing serious, it was just a concern we brought up to the doctor. Beo says, Fo, there are a lot of inconsistencies in your story compared to what I initially understood based off what you said previously. Additionally, I struggle to believe that random, 100% unrelated abdominal pain that had you in tears and ended up with you in the hospital was not linked to the anxiety and IBS flare up at all. Your medical info is your privacy, but the timing is extremely suspicious. Unless someone came into your house and stabbed you an hour later, what are the chances? Hosea states, it's not 100% unrelated. The IBS flare up contributed to some pain, but it wasn't the leading factor. I'm sorry if it doesn't make sense, but I personally prefer not to go into the details of the other concern due to it being much more personal. Yes, it doesn't make sense. I understand that. It didn't make sense to me either. Imagine my confusion and concern being told there's another issue aside from the usual IBS pain. Beowulf says, well, I hope you're able to get the medical help you need. I'm sorry that you found out other shit at the hospital. Hosea says, alright, well, I'm done trying to explain it for what it is. If you do not believe it, that's fine. I'm just relaying what I was told caused it without going into personal details. What sort of inconsistencies were there? It's not that hard to follow. Hosea suffers from IBS and GAD. The GAD causes flare-ups that usually trigger the IBS. She assumes that it's the GAD causing the pain. However, the pain this time was worse than the usual flare-ups, so she asks her dad to take her to the hospital for a checkup. The doctor then confirms that it is something else that is causing the pain. Pancreatic inflammation. Beowulf, it is incredibly weird for you to be saying shit like, the timing is extremely suspicious, when someone who's supposed to be your friend is telling you about what happened to them. I don't see Posea telling you things like that when you're notorious for taking numerous health breaks. The conversation between them ends with Beo saying, I appreciate you relaying it. It's extremely difficult to believe it's unrelated at all to the anxiety and IBS flare-up. I hope you can understand that. Hosea replies to Beo with, I get that it's hard to believe that, because I also was on the fence about it not being from that alone. Without going into too many details, there's a medical concern regarding the pancreas that's gone unnoticed due to not getting regular checkups. It's a pain I normally have, which I deduce personally as the usual IBS abdominal pain, due to, again, having high anxiety a majority of the time, but the doctor explained it more to me and to go back in 2 weeks. Health has always been something I've been concerned about addressing, so when it's something outside of regularity, I don't like talking about it as it does stress me out, which in turn causes that IBS abdominal pain. Hosea then recounts what happened after this conversation. Shortly after Beo created a group chat with one of our mutual friends, I unfortunately don't have screenshots from that conversation and the group chat is something I'm no longer a part of. After this, Beo had made an announcement about position updates, to which they stated I was no longer on the team support due to medical complications and hospitalization. I was not hospitalized, I went for a checkup. I was home that same evening. This was also not the reason, Beo had told me. Beo informed me it was for mental health concerns, which was quite a bother to me as others who have struggled much worse have not been removed. Beo had also removed me from their tavern server and removed me as a friend. This quite bothered me. It made it quite clear my positions weren't removed for the concerns they stated. It made it quite clear I was not a part of the team anymore in their standards. I opted to leave on my own terms after this. It left me quite upset, hurt, and irritated. This is how Beo handles things, and apologies for lack of professionalism from this point beyond, but I am tired of people not being informed of the reality behind the scenes. I'm not even sure if the team is aware of this either. I don't know why Beowulf lied about Hosea. You cannot chalk up what he did as a simple miscommunication when in the DMs, you see that she was very clear that she was not hospitalized. There was nothing that indicated Hosea's health prevented her from fulfilling her tasks within the ChibiMation team. As far as the screenshots go, this is something Beo made up on his own. For the last section of the document, Hosea writes, after a while, I just moved on. I focused on my own things and my own life. One day, I was contacted by someone from the team prior who had concerns. They wished to stay anonymous, so please respect this. I was shown a screenshot of Beo saying that I deleted files. I contacted Beo via Instagram about this. Below is that conversation. Hey man, it's Jay, Hosea. Just wanted to reach out and chat about something that was brought to my attention recently, if you have the time. Beo responds with, hey there, what's up? Hosea says, I just wanted to talk about a conversation that was shared with me by someone who wanted to stay anonymous. It's a screenshot of you saying I deleted some docs/files? Beo replies, Oh, I believe I corrected myself later on. Hosea says, No worries, it happens. I just wanted to know why it was said to begin with. Beo explains, I think some of the files on my drive disappeared and I freaked out. Hosea then states, and I totally get that. I know that a lot happened and we were both very stressed/upset at the time. I just wanted to know if that's why me deleting them was the conclusion is all. Beowulf says, yeah, just lined up poorly time-wise, so I assumed incorrectly. To that, Hosea says, and that's totally understandable. Thanks for telling me that. I had asked if it was actually corrected by Beo, to which this friend said they don't recall any correction. Going by their word alone, Beo had openly lied to me, which bugs me. If anyone on the team can confirm it was corrected or not, then great. We see a common trend here of Beowulf falsely accusing people of actions that harms the game's development and the team. He accused Moose of being the mole with no evidence and blamed Hosea for deleting the files. Again, with no evidence! Why the hell would you accuse her of doing something so horrible? Nothing excuses that behavior, and the fact that you lied to her face about it too is so telling of your behavior towards other people. Hosea writes, I'm not the only one with an experience like this, and I won't share their stories without permission. I'm just tired of community members speaking out about their concerns, but ultimately being put down for them. It's so frustrating to see things go unnoticed or misinformed. My experience is not singular. This is how Beo handles things. As you can see, it's not just a one-off incident when it comes to team members. But how about when it comes to critics? Since the mole incident occurred on the same day as the release of Soy's video, I'll discuss the blackmailing allegations against Beowulf. This originated from the ChibiMation Went Too Far video that Soy put out after Let's Talk About ChibiMation. It starts off with Beo reaching out to Soy through one of the ChibiMation mods. Hi Soy, I wanted to reach out directly because I've noticed some of the points in your recent videos contain a few misunderstandings and personal interpretations that might be unintentionally misleading to your audience. I get the sense that some of this might be tied to your feelings about Team Idolize. I'm open to having a private conversation about that if you'd like, and I genuinely want to keep things respectful. That said, because of the nature of the claims being made publicly, we are preparing a response video to clarify things for viewers. I'd prefer to avoid any hostility or backlash coming your way, so I wanted to let you know in advance. That said, I'd really rather not have to make a video at all. If you're open to taking down your current content and working with us to reach a mutual understanding, I'm more than willing to forego a response. We're also open to incorporating some of the valid feedback you've shared, like being more interactive with the CM audience, so this doesn't have to be adversarial. Let me know if you'd be open to talking this through. I genuinely prefer a collaborative and calm resolution. From Beowulf. First of all, if you watched Soy's previous videos, you would know that Team Idolize was not mentioned anywhere in those 3 videos. The first one talked about why having PNGs is bad for the assets, since it makes them blurry. The second one was a rant about the developers and Chibi High, and the third one was a rant directed at the team's response to her videos. Team Idolize was a gacha group that Beowulf made when he was 15. They created a gacha series called Idolize, which was voice acted and animated, as well as other short animations. If you're curious about what happened, I recommend watching Angel Edit's video on it because she interviews key members of that team. Once Soy accepted the DM request by Beo, here's how the conversation went. Beo says, Greetings, do you prefer to talk on this account or your main account? Soy says, I don't mind, anywhere is fine. Beo says, Awesome. First off, I did want to apologize for how I handled the Team Idolize project. Leaving it the way I did was wrong, and I can understand how that upset you. Soy said, I didn't make the video to mention your old projects, just your current one. Beo says, Oh, I'm well aware, but I think you deserve an apology regardless, and if there's anyone else who feels wronged by me for what I'd like to apologize to them as well. Soy says, It's fine, you were young, so I don't mind. Beo says, Are you sure? Age shouldn't be an excuse. Soy replies with, Yeah, I don't mind, so why does bringing my old account have to do with taking down the video? Beo replies with, The reason your old account is relevant is because in the videos you've made several claims while positioning yourself as someone with significant industry experience. In order to give viewers full context, especially as we respond to criticisms of our game, we feel it's important to clarify who is making those claims. That includes addressing past concerns like the Kofi situation, the mismanagement of your project, and how former team members were treated. If those things are left out, it creates an unbalanced narrative that unfairly targets our work without acknowledging relevant history. We're not doing this to attack you personally, we just want to provide full context so people can make informed decisions. For context, Soy used to be Aiko, one of the co-owners of Gacha World and the creator of Customs and Coffee. Gacha World was a Gacha Club mod that was cancelled because the co-owner, Finux, deleted all the files, sold the Gacha World Discord server to hackers and raiders, and stole the funds that were meant to pay the illustrators. Customs and Coffee was made to be able to release what was left of Gacha World into a separate mod. Aiko was able to pay back the artists for all their work. In the first place, Soy was criticizing the problems that she saw with the current direction of ChibiMation. She's no industry professional, and she never claimed that she was. She just has experience with coding and multimedia arts. What happened to Gacha World is by no means comparable to what is going on with ChibiMation. Gacha World was a mod made by a smaller team, didn't have thousands of dollars in backing, got screwed over by the owner who stole the money and let the server be raided, then he also deleted the files. ChibiMation is a game made by a bigger team, has $10,000 plus in donations, lost 2 developers because of the lack of progress and mismanagement. How would bringing up Soy's past make it a balanced narrative when what happened between both projects are completely different situations? At least I could play Gacha World and Customs and Coffee right now. I can't say the same about ChibiMation. So Soy replies to Beo's message with, "Yeah, I agree my project was mismanaged. I'm still confused, so I can't criticize you because my old projects flopped. And it's been 2 years. I've done internships and worked under people with experience. So if I was a random person, my criticism is invalid? Can you explain that a bit? Like, Jen confused." Beo said, "You're totally allowed to criticize us. No one's saying you can't have an opinion. The issue is that your videos are full of false or misleading info, and that's where it crosses a line. When you spread that kind of misinformation to our audience, we have no choice but to respond publicly. That's why we're asking you to take down the videos with false claims. We really don't want to make a response video, but if those stay up, we'll need to correct the record." Soy asks, "Can you explain what is false? Like, point it out. Please also provide evidences, screenshots that were made in the public. No team chat, no supporter chat. Instead of telling me, show me so I can better understand." To which Beo responds with, "If you had actually waited for the document like we said, we could have shown everything clearly, but instead you went ahead and made another video full of assumptions and false info. So here's my question back to you. Why are you comfortable presenting claims to a public audience without verifying them first? Shouldn't that standard apply both ways?" Soy's videos were mostly about things that you can observe firsthand. What kind of false information was she presenting? You can see that Beowulf is being purposefully vague. Even now with the docs and statements from the team, we still don't know what kind of false or misleading info Soy was saying. She critiqued the PNG size, the progress of the developers, and the decision to make Chibi high. If Beowulf was actually working on a document, then he'd have the evidence on hand. It's interesting that he doesn't show it and stays vague on what the claims are. Soy replies with, "Well, I added DMs from the mod, DMs from someone who works as an asset designer, DMs from Femlol, announcements, and chats in the server, so I'm not sure what I didn't verify? Did you want me to DM you? When, as I stated, I made it in the perspective of the community?" Beo states, "I get that you tried to include things from the community's perspective, and I don't doubt that your intent was to speak up for others, but presenting something as the community's view doesn't make it automatically accurate, especially when it includes misinformation or lacks full context. You included private DMs and out-of-context screenshots, but didn't reach out to us for clarification, nor did you wait for the document we said we were preparing. So the result is another video that spreads false claims. That's not fair to us or the audience. So at this point, Would you rather take the videos down and wait for our documents so we can have a real, balanced conversation? Or are you choosing to have us move forward with a full public response? When Soy stated she made it from the perspective of the community, she means that the video was made based on observations by the community. I have watched all of Soy's videos on ChibiMation. Hell, my rant video was inspired by her. Everything that was stated in the videos you can find within the ChibiMation server and other public platforms. Again, what is the misinformation? You keep throwing the word around yet you don't specify what it is. It's been 4 months, Beowulf. You never released a Google Doc, and I wonder why. There's no mention of it in any of the FAQ Google Docs made by the ChibiMation team. Oh, and the team was complicit in this too because they were shit-talking Soy in their team server. Guys, what the fuck was the misinformation? All I have from the screenshots of that server is you guys bitching about Soy, mocking her, making fallacies, and ignoring criticism. As the new leaders of the project, you have the responsibility to address this blackmail allegation. Back to the conversation, Soy says, I'd take it down if you showed me the doc, since I'll know you're not leveraging your audience against me. There's a power imbalance, you see? You can ignore my video, and this'll just be a small Gacha YouTuber airing out their concerns. People will still support you regardless. Beo says, I get the concern about power imbalance, but you're the one who made multiple public videos with false claims, so we're not leveraging anything by wanting to respond to that. You chose to take this public, and with that comes accountability. We were preparing a full doc and giving you time to correct things privately, but instead, you kept posting. If you're genuinely open to taking the videos down once you see the doc, then we're still willing to send it your way before making our video. But to be clear, this isn't about crushing a smaller creator, it's about clearing up misinformation that affects our team and the people who support the project. Soy replies with, Yep, it's fine, I already knew this was going to come eventually, just send the doc. I'll review it and see where we'll go from there. Yes, Beowulf, you were leveraging something. You refused to show any evidence of misinformation and you were trying to manipulate Soy to take down her video. If she agreed to do what you said, how will people check if the information within this planned Google document is actually true? Another point would be that taking down the videos would paint Soy as a liar, and I think it is possible you would have used that to discredit her. It would be so easy for you to say, oh look guys, the YouTuber criticizing us took her videos down. That's because she's a liar who wants to take down our game. Besides, how can you be trusted to tell the truth? You kept on advertising that the ChibiMation beta will come out in 2023, 2024, only for you to then say that less than or equal to 10% of the game's code was finished. You got a new developer, Dare, who you claim to have made faster progress on the code compared to Femlol, only to fire him for ghosting. After that, you suddenly announced that there's a Roblox game now and that it will come out in June 2025, but it did not. Beowulf, you continuously deceived your audience into thinking that there was substantial progress being made. If you can lie about all of that, how can we, the public, believe your word and your word only? I truly believe that this was a desperate attempt to silence valid criticism of your game. Clearly, it didn't work, so he opted to not bring more attention to it. Why? Because more people would have seen his poor and unprofessional behavior. The next example of Beowulf's lack of professionalism is his use of AI in important messages. I'll let Flotalendi give a brief description on it.
Besides the behavior, do you remember this segment from one of Beo's videos?
Meet Polybuzz, the app that lets you create your own AI characters and chat with millions of others. Want to try it yourself? Download Polybuzz using my special link in the description and use my promo code BEOW99 to unlock exclusive premium features.
ChibiMation's target audience is mostly against generative AI in any shape or form, and ChibiMation, even Beo himself, has made it clear several times that they do not support AI. But what if I were to tell you that the following, which include important CM announcements, event announcements, termination of team members, scanning a contract to find red flags, interview questions for team position, YouTube short scripts, and translations, all of that was AI. All of Beo's official statements were shoved into ChatGPT because, I quote, "I'm not good with words."
I can understand using generative AI like ChatGPT as a template or format for your announcements, but using it for everything is insane. I'd expect that as an American, Beowulf has some form of basic education. Writing Discord server and event announcements, interview questions, and YouTube short scripts will take an hour or less. The letters of termination and the cease of desists have templates that you can find on Google. Scanning a contract to find red flags. Oh my god, all you need to do is read and pay attention to the terms and conditions, my guy! Taking a character AI clothes sponsorship is a slap in the face to your team and audience when they are explicitly against any form of generative AI. The only use of AI that I find acceptable is the translations for languages if they were used for personal use. If it was used for translations in communications or for the app's UI, all I have to say is that you hosted an event where members of the ChibiMation server submitted ideas for asset designs based on their cultures. You could have asked anyone in that server for a translation. There are more than 50,000 people in there. While I could make the arguments for Beowulf being a hypocrite, how using generative AI steals from writers and how it's terrible for the environment, I want to focus on how fucking lazy he is. Take for example, how he made AI analyze the contract object sent to him. Buttersu says, true, but that's exactly how companies trick people, Lamau. The small text that makes you sell your soul to the devil. To which Beo responds with, that's why I make AI read the whole thing, because it'll catch that shit. That's what I did with Astra's first contract he sent us. I sent it and went, analyze this for red flags and then write me a message to send back about what should be changed. And it worked perfectly. We ended up changing like 9 things I never would have caught otherwise. Beowulf, it is your job to read the contract carefully and clarify with object if you don't understand what is being said. You cannot rely on what AI said since it is not entirely accurate and could provide misinformation. If you were so worried about getting the short end of the stick, you should have set up a consultation with a lawyer, a professional who you can rely on for credible information. It makes me question as well, what sort of work has he been doing as a director? If everything you did was done by AI, what is the point of having you as the leader of the project? The team would have benefited more by having ChatGPT as their director. All those tasks would be accomplished and they would receive better communication and treatment. Before I move on to his lack of communication, let's address the Polybuzz sponsorship. The document explains, but on July 28, 2025, Beo released a video sponsoring an AI platform, Polybuzz. This rightfully upset many members in their fanbase to the point that people were even commenting about it in the Beo and Friends server. An admin then directly spoke to Beo about it. Ishtar says, hi, I hate being the bearer of bad news, but a few people in the BNF server are still unhappy with the Polybuzz sponsorship. We haven't removed the members/messages because we know people would be more angry if mods silenced them, so we have a few in the server. Beo responds with, good to know. Usually I never touch an AI sponsorship, but I had to for Red this month, so there's really nothing I can do about that. Ishtar responds with, yeah, I could understand. Sadly, people will think you sold out because you did. Fuck. Okay, what do you want to do though? Beo replies saying, well, just let it blow over for now. Lesson learned, I guess. Ishtar says, I wish there were other sponsorships available, shaking my head. Beowulf says, same. Ishtar then asks, if you don't want people to know you did it for rent, what should I say? Beowulf tells her, you can tell them I was locked into a contract and legally had to do it because of the agency I'm in. r/technically the truth. I'd pose it more as an explanation than an excuse. I don't want them thinking I'm saying AI is okay. Ishtar says, maybe it's best people see it stated by you directly, to which Beo replies with, probably. I'll do that later. You knew that your community is against generative AI, yet you still took the sponsorship? But my rent. Oh, shut up. That is not a valid excuse. Maybe you wouldn't have problems with rent if you posted consistently. This upload schedule is abysmal for someone who claimed to be a full-time content creator. You have 800,000 subscribers and all the time in the world to post more. By the way, I don't believe that Beowulf was locked into a contract by their agency. First of all, what VTuber agency is he a part of? There's no mention of any agency in his channel description, video descriptions, and his Discord server. He He mentions working with one in 2023, but doesn't give a name. I find it hard to believe that he's still part of one because no serious VTuber agency will invest time and resources into a creator who doesn't put effort in creating content. It's not r/technically the truth, it's a lie. The document continues with, Beo said they'd make a statement about the sponsorship themselves, but that still hasn't been made. Only Ishtar did in the B&F server, but the responsibility should have been on just Beo. They said they'd make a statement, but it's been weeks/a whole month yet again. Beowulf's strategy for any controversy seems to be letting things blow over and having his moderators deal with it. I don't have to be the one to tell you guys that moderators like Ishtar shouldn't have to be the ones to answer for Beo's actions. He has been screwing people over who help him time and time again because he doesn't want to face the consequences of his actions. The only reason why he was able to get away with it for so long was because he took advantage of his team and an audience's goodwill. Another reason would be that the criticisms of Beo were scattered around the internet and no one made comprehensive videos outlining his actions until a few weeks ago with Angel Edit's video on Team Idolize. The second reason why Beowulf is no longer ChibiMation's director is his lack of communication. Flowtolendi says,
Aside from the impulsive decisions and the formulation with ChatGPT, Beo was also repeatedly absent.
As I mentioned previously, if he has frequent medical emergencies that impact his ability to work as director of ChibiMation, he should have stepped down sooner.
Most of the events within the Discord server and publications on social media like Instagram were made by anyone in management but Beo. Sadly, that was all they could do since they had no access to the important files and didn't have the knowledge to actively participate in the development aspect.
Honestly, with how Beo has managed the project, I don't blame the staff for trying to keep the community alive with all these Discord events. If you don't have access to the files needed to keep development going, how can you enact a meaningful change and progress for the game? This is why all my major criticisms are directed at Beowulf and not the other staff with the team. He was the one holding the project back due to his incompetence as a leader.
And while Beo offered to teach what to do in case they were absent, that never followed through. It was always delayed and then forgotten. Within the regular team members circle, barely anyone knew about the game's progress, and after the 50k assets were done, the server slowly died. Despite our now director's attempts to keep some form of entertainment for the team and the community, where can a team go without its leader?
Let's take a closer look at this conversation. The Google Doc states on July 8th in the group chat, Beo did offer to teach Ishtar how to upload assets in their absence. The screenshot goes as follows. Beowulf says, Okay, so real talk, I'm struggling really bad with depression and getting things done is becoming very difficult. This is why I've been gone so much. I got put on meds for it, but they're gonna take another 5 weeks to kick in, if they work. Wow! Imagine receiving $10,000+ in donations, stating that you'll be back to work in 5 weeks, if the medications do their job. A lot of people around the world struggle with depression, yet they still go to work and keep their promises, especially when thousands of dollars are on the line. Mental health is important, but it cannot be used as an excuse for avoiding responsibility and accountability. Back to the conversation. I think I need some sort of help, primarily with setting up assignments for the helpers because that needs to get done. Is anyone willing to help with that? It's a lot of work, so it might be best broken up between 2 people. Ishtar then says that she hopes that Beo feels better soon and asks about the requirements, to which Beo responds with, Computer is needed, needs to be able to run Photoshop, login will be provided, needs to be able to have many tabs open at once, Google account is needed, will definitely want at least 5 GB of free storage, and thank you Ishtar. Ishtar replies with, I think I have the room then, with a screenshot of her hard drive that has some space. The next day comes and Beo messages Ishtar with, Hey, what time today would work best for you and what's a good email to give file access to? Ishtar responds with, I'll be available in about an hour from now, and gives an email that Beowulf can use. An hour passes by and Beowulf says, Do you mind if we do this tomorrow? I'm having a hard time getting the energy. I'm so sorry. To which Ishtar responds with, no worries, I don't mind at all. What kind of pathetic excuse is, I'm having a hard time getting the energy? Beowulf, you were the one who contacted Ishtar on the 9th of July with the intention of scheduling the lesson. Now, I would understand cancelling if there was a family emergency or your chronic pain was unbearable. The excuse you gave was basically, I'm too lazy to do it right now. I'm having a hard time getting energy to read your bullshit. What more for your team? The document states that Beo never did end up teaching Ishtar how to upload assets, stating they got busy in the team server. The screenshot starts with Ashton stating, I ain't questioning nothing about how shit is being handled because it is being handled to the best of our ability, but can't the file with all the available assets from each category just be shared, then someone can look through and group them and send them out? I'm pretty sure that's what was being done before. I'm confused why it can't happen now? Like legit, just curious. I know Beo can't share his email with people, so this is the best way to go about it. Then attaches a meme that says, please don't be disappointed in me, meow, sad face. So Beo responds to that stating, so I was actually about to train Ishtar to do it, but I got busy. I'd also have to give access to like 300 files / serious. But yeah, it's important to do that. We'll work on it soon. And Ashton ends the conversation in the screenshot with, I was legit just curious, so don't mind me, but I'm glad Ish is gonna help. You got busy. Really, Beowulf? Is that actually the reason, or are you lying in the team server to save face? The 300 files part is bullshit since it's so easy to share files in Google Drive. Let me show you right now. That took me less than a minute to do. The actual training can probably be done in less than a day. Flotalendi also mentions in her video that due to Beo's absences, the team struggled to keep the community alive and that they had no access to the ChibiMation YouTube channel.
While the ChibiMation YouTube channel does exist, Beo was the only one who had access to it, as you can see, nothing was posted outside of one livestream last year.
I feel like a broken record asking this question, but Beowulf, why are you the only one with access to every important aspect of ChibiMation if you are always on hiatus? To end the section, the doc writer stated, again, many of us understand that medical emergencies are very important, but a constant state of being too drained, disappearing, coming back to chat for a bit before disappearing again, and not having someone able to continue working on the project set us back. Yes, Beowulf is an incompetent leader, and that becomes more apparent the more we see the rest of the reasons. The next section of the document elaborates more on how Beo avoids confrontation. The two examples given were how he kept an 11-year-old as a mod for the ChibiMation Discord and another mention of the Polybuzz sponsorship. Since I went over how he handled the latter, I'll focus on the underage moderator. The section recalls, in March there was an incident where someone anonymously reported that one of our moderators was underage, under 13. The source of this was a mutual friend of a mod. When this situation was brought up to Beo, the response was to leave it be. There are two people removed from the screenshots. The reporter will be called Blue, and the moderator will be called Pink. So a team member called Harry Aiden messages Beo with, hi, so I might need help regarding a member's concern, so I'll just TLDR about what happened. TLDR, Blue have sent me a message regarding a team member who is to be found underage. It's Pink. But the messiest kind of part is that Blue found it out by a mutual who is also friends with Pink, but the mutual promised to be kept the secret that Pink is underage, but all the worry the mutual told it to Blue. The user requested to not share the screenshots due to they aren't comfortable at the moment. I talked to Ishtar and they said to talk to you on what we could do towards this. Hope it's not much, but yeah, it's messy, since yeah, it's not allowed in the beginning to be in the server underage. Beo responds with, "Oh my god. We'll leave it be for now. How old are they?" Harry replies with, "They are, 11. When asked about the follow-up, Beo's response was to ignore it and let the moderator continue working for ChibiMation. So a month later, Harry reaches out to Beowulf again with, "Yo, Beo, hope ya eat well. If it's okay to ask for a follow-up on what we could do on the pink situation since we have a new homework and I don't know if they should be working." Beo replies with, "We can leave it be for now. I'm honestly not too worried about it." Harry asks, "Oh, how so if it's alright to ask?" Beo finishes the conversation with, "If they get caught and get reported, then that's their own fault, but otherwise I'm leaving it be. If you want to report it, go for it. I just don't care enough." Oh my god, how hard is it to kick some child off the mod team? An 11-year-old shouldn't be on Discord at all. That is the fastest way to get groomed. They are not mature enough to handle the responsibility of managing a server with 50,000 plus members. Imagine solving a dispute between two members as a child. That is ridiculous. This is pure negligence from Beo's part, and how he let the situation be is irresponsible, not to mention weird. Why would you be comfortable having a kid on a team with a bunch of teens and adults? Despite conversations with different members of management, Harry, Ishtar, and Tiara agreeing with the ban of Pink, Beo did nothing about the situation. This situation would be shoved under the rug, with nobody aware that one of ChibiMation's moderators was underage. The screenshots shown here are between Ishtar and Harry, with Ishtar saying, "Shoot, well I can advise you contact Beo ASAP to discuss what to do. I'm all for just banning Pink, but I'm unsure if Beo wants to give them a chance to come clean first. Either way, Pink can't stay. If they're that young, they've got to go. We can't show bias." Harry responds with, "Yeah, I will send this to Blue right away. We'll also help them if they want me to talk to Beo. I really kinda expect there's no given chances on this since we are really strict on our rules. And I do think, hopefully, when it's official, it does look nice to have some paperwork signed in the near future. It is really messy and Pink just got recently hired." Ishtar says, "For real, this sucks. At least we're finding out now." And Harry ends the conversation with, "The consequences are big, and yeah, no choice other than taking it." Is Beowulf the only one with power over who can be moderator? A criticism I have for the other members of the team is that if you have the power to remove the roles and kick this mod, you should have done that. You don't have to wait for Beowulf to do something about it, especially with how he loves to take breaks all the time. So how does this situation get resolved? On August 29th, 2025, after this incident resurfaced with ChibiMation's new management, that moderator was let go from the team. Tiara states, "Hi Pink, I unfortunately have to let you know that you will be removed from the team as we have discovered that you are under the age of 13, which goes against Discord's TOS, which can lead to potential server purge by them. Please understand that I mean absolutely no harm in this, as to protect the server from being erased in the future. You will still be allowed to return to the team once you are of age according to the TOS, so take this as a means of a temporary leave." 5 months of this 11-year-old being a moderator and no one took action to ban them? I believe that Pink should not return to the team, even when they turn 13, since I think that only older teens, those being 15 and above, should be the ones to moderate the large server. Beowulf has the most fault here when it comes to this, since he has the power to remove this person. However, the team enabled this decision by not doing anything until the change in management. The final reason why Beo is not ChibiMation's director anymore is his poor handling of finances. At the start of this video, I went over my suspicions about the Ko-fi, but Flotolendi's video and the Google document reveal more about how Beowulf would approach payments. Flo mentions 2 situations.
There was a time where it was mentioned that server managers will be paid for their services within the ChibiMation Discord server. Now directors Ashton and Balatsu, along with co-director Vree, all attested that those payments never happened or that they had to constantly remind Beo to receive their payments. And even then, Beo did not keep track on who was doing what for how long. In short, server managers were not paid for years. But if you thought that was bad in itself, wait until you hear the story. On January 10th, 2025, a GoFundMe organized by Beo was hoping to help an asset designer struggling to buy daily necessities. With the help of the community, over $1,200 were raised, and within a couple of hours, a full batch of groceries costing around $150 was delivered at the designer's doorsteps. But after that, no one, including who the money was meant for, heard of the remaining $1,000 until the shift in management. Only then were the remaining funds of the GoFundMe sent out to the designer. It took more than 7 months for that person to receive the money donated to them from Beo. 7 months. Let that sink in.
For the first example, that was an issue I pointed out in my first video. According to the Ko-fi description, 60% went to new tech/apps for artists, 23% went to staff raffles, and 17% went to server manager pay. Out of the 3 former server managers, only Bree was paid. The Google Doc states, Bree, the server manager before Buttertsu, was paid, but had to constantly remind Beo for payment. Beo also stated they haven't been keeping track of Bree's hours. In this screenshot, Bree says, Hey Beo, I was wondering if I could get my monthly pay. Beowulf states, Yes, I'm sorry, I genuinely do forget. I'll add it as a proper alarm. Can I do that tomorrow? I have food poisoning right now and it hurts to get up. Bree responds with, Oh dear, for sure, make sure to get lots of rest too. Get well soon. Beowulf ends the conversation with, Thanks man. Is it just me, or does Beo always have a convenient excuse when it comes to avoiding his responsibilities and duties as ChibiMation's director? All you need to do is to send the money through PayPal. You can do that in bed with your phone. In the next screenshot, Beowulf says, I have not been super attentive to seeing activity levels of everyone, but I haven't seen you around for like a week because you're on hiatus for family stuff. So I'm trying to calculate this month's pay, etc. However, if you have been working behind the scenes and on the other server, let me know. Also, I guess I should ask, since we have never come to this point before, lol, how long of a hiatus is long enough that you'd consider it okay to adjust pay based on days of the month? I'll just be paying you for a full month this month anyways because we never discussed this. $104 is headed your way, my dude. If you are paying people with the Ko-fi donation money, you need to ensure that they are doing their jobs. Otherwise, you are possibly over or underpaying your staff. Why were you accepting donations if you didn't plan ahead for these types of issues? If you're going to manage a project that has thousands of dollars invested into it, you need to have a list of completed tasks accomplished by each member. Do you not have a spreadsheet that accounts for people's pay? Why are you manually calculating it? That's so inefficient. Following that screenshot, when asked about ChibiMation's finances, Salem, one of Beo's alters, confirmed server managers weren't getting paid for years. In this screenshot, Beo said, Thanks. We also do raffles or server manager pay anymore really. Haven't done server manager pay for like years. Hashtag, nobody getting paid right now. Where the fuck did the 40% go then? Beowulf, your Ko-fi was never meant to pay for taxes, licensing, or publishing. That was never indicated in the Ko-fi's description. You said that the money was for new tech and art apps for the designers, staff raffles, and server manager pay. Your asset designers and artists are the most important people in ChibiMation. They are the lifeblood of your game, and you can't even pay them? You tricked your community into believing that the money they donated will be used in compensating the artists for their hard work. Oh, and don't pull the excuse that you specified it in the Support Us channel on your Discord. That was the only mention of the donations being used for software and licensing fees. Not everyone will see the description in that channel, and it's not the same as the Ko-fi. For all we know, there may be more undisclosed spending behind the scenes. The last example in the document prepared by the ChibiMation team is the one that angers me the most. Flo gave the basic rundown of the situation. Beowulf fundraised $1,206 for Pofu, who needed the money for groceries, and took 7 months to give the rest of the money. While she does give a good summary of what happened, I want to give more context using the GoFundMe's description. It reads, Support Pofu, help provide essential food. Hello, I am Beo, creator of ChibiMation, and we're running this fundraiser on behalf of Pofu, an artist from our team. who is struggling with neglect at home. Their father is often away on business trips or coming home late and doesn't always provide food. Some nights, Pofu is left with nothing but microwave popcorn or school leftovers to eat. This fundraiser aims to ensure Pofu has access to regular, nutritious meals and some stability in their life. All donations will go directly to helping them buy groceries and snacks. Your help, whether through a donation or sharing this campaign, can make a huge difference. Let's show Pofu they are not alone. Thank you for your kindness and support. No raffles, sweepstakes, giveaways, or returns on investment are offered in exchange for any donations made to this GoFundMe. How could you do that to Pofu, Beowulf? You withheld money from a minor who is being neglected at home. And for what? There is no excuse for what you did, especially when you have been active throughout 2025. You deprive them of a basic human right. Pofu had to go through 7 months? 7 months with no proper meals. I feel confident in saying that you stole the money. If you were able to go through that much time without giving the donations to them, I think it's fair to say that you had no intention of doing so. Beo, you are a YouTuber with 800,000 plus subscribers. You are privileged enough to have the means to afford regular meals. How dare you steal that GoFundMe money? I struggle to comprehend how you were active for months, posting videos, announcements, telling people to donate to the ChibiMation Ko-fi while one of your artists was struggling. You are fucking disgusting, Beowulf. Due to all these reasons and the ChibiMation team confronting Beo, as stated earlier, he chose to step down on August 24, 2025. He said, "As much as a pain it is to hear so much criticism, you all are very correct. I don't think I should be running this project any further. I don't have the time, the energy, or the capacity to. We avoid things that terrify us, especially internet drama because of my past experiences. We only have specific alters that work on this project, hence the long breaks of disinterest, and I can't just pull them out of a hat. And you all deserve a leader who is consistent and a lot more mentally well." The second part of his statement piqued my interest. Specifically, we only have specific alters that work on this project, hence the long breaks of disinterest, and I can't just pull them out of a hat. If you guys didn't know, Beowulf claims to have dissociative identity disorder, which is when a person has 2 or more personalities in their head, known as alters that control them at different times. There have been allegations that Beowulf has been faking his DID. I wouldn't be discussing the specific allegation if it wasn't used as an excuse for his poor management of ChibiMation. Personally, I believe that DID does exist, but it is incredibly rare. I think it is very harmful to portray a mental disorder as this fun and quirky thing to your audience full of children. There shouldn't be stigmatization of DID, but you shouldn't glorify it either. It is a disorder that manifests because of extreme childhood trauma and should be handled with care. To the audience, I want you to listen to my points and look at it with a critical lens. This is simply a review of the allegation and the criticism of Beowulf's behavior. Please don't go and attack him based on this. Now that I have given my disclaimer, here's how it started. Beowulf came out with DID last April on his Discord server. He claimed that it was an official DID diagnosis and shows a small portion of the report. I can't claim that the diagnosis is real or fake because it's a small screenshot. However, there was a detail that made me raise an eyebrow. Beo said, "I want to be a positive example of what functional multiplicity can look like." If you don't know what functional multiplicity is, it is when the alters are able to coexist harmoniously with each other and are able to function well in day-to-day life. It's similar to integration, which is fusing all the different alters back to one personality. Both processes focus on the person being able to function normally. There isn't much medical literature on functional multiplicity, but there are sources for integration. According to a study done by Barlow and Chu, the relationship between therapy to integration may be complex, but in their results, it was observed that higher integration was seen in those individuals who had years of therapy. It should be noted that while there is an outlier who had less years of therapy but a higher integration score, she still went to therapy. Even if Beowulf has been in therapy before, it isn't the specific therapy needed for DID. I don't understand how Beowulf could achieve something similar to integration if he had just received this diagnosis. I mean, the dude claims he has 150 plus alters as of July 2025. Imagine how that works in the brain. Unless he is an extremely rare case that psychologists would love to study, I doubt that even if he does have DID, he's reached that tier of functionality. The two main complaints regarding his DID that I have seen are that he did face claims of his alters and how he presents his symptoms. For context, in June 2025, he posted 2 shorts where he presented his face claims for the alters he showed in his Meet the Alters videos. A face claim is the use of a real-life person's photo as a representation of your original character. In Beo's case, his alters. I believe that this is unacceptable to do because the belief that you have is that your alter is their own person. You are essentially stealing the face of somebody else because typically you don't ask for permission to do face claims of people. What Beowulf did was worse because he used a picture of a 15-year-old for his Solaris alter. I wouldn't have a problem with this if it was an OC because at least it's a fictional character that won't go around wearing the face of another person. However, this is his alters, the personalities that he presents himself as. For fuck's sake, he changes his display name to whatever alter is the host and uses real-life photos of other people on Discord. Beo, you can draw or use a character creator like Gacha Life. Why do you need to use real-life photos of random people, especially minors, to have a representation of your alters? Just use the ChibiMation avatars or other fan art that people have drawn of them. You can even put on cosplay to represent them like you did with your alter Cody. The second complaint about how he presents his DID symptoms revolves around the way he switches alters and how he treats them more like OCs. Here's 2 examples of how Beowulf switches from his drawing till we pass out stream.
Next we're gonna do Vree's logo, our other friend from ChibiMation. They have sent us quite the reference. Look how cute their character is. Is this not the most adorable little character? Okay, Cody has informed me he's doing this logo, so I'm going to switch over real quick. And by that I mean I'm going to open up VTube Mini and switch this character. My god, my cat. Hello, Woodrell. You only come here when Cody's coming in? That's so cruel. Okay, I'm going to be right back, and then when I'm back, it's not going to be me. So, adios, y'all. It's been really fun. Hello. It's good to meet you all. My name is Cody. I am the current host. What else about me? Sorry, I didn't really plan this out. I've also never done a video, and for my first time showing up, doing a stream is really intense. That's not too bad. We might add a little white dot in the center to help. Okay, I can really feel Alan at this point. Give me a hot second. I'm back. Somebody just recommended a video where we do like the alters draw themselves video. That's a bloody splendid idea. I'm writing that one down. Hello everyone, I'm back. I wanted to continue on this logo because honestly, I don't know. I just wanted to. I was having a lot of fun with you guys earlier, and I'm a bit of a somebody who gets FOMO pretty bad.
From the studies and journals that I read from PubMed, I don't think this is how switching works. I'm relying on medical journals because I know that those are more reliable than random websites and blogs. The reasons for switching range between perceiving threats to triggers for the person's trauma. There is a study I found from 2012 called Voluntary switching between identities in dissociative identity disorder, a functional MRI case study, wherein the patient showed the ability to voluntarily switch. However, she was able to accomplish this after years of treatment. As far as I know, Beowulf only started treatment for DID a few months ago. How he's able to consciously switch is beyond me. I am sure I will have comments complaining about how DID is different between individuals and that it's not fair to think you might fake claim a disorder. While the severity of mental disorders may vary between individuals, there are still similar symptoms and signs that you can observe. I do believe that Beowulf has had trauma and does have other mental illnesses. I think it is fair to be skeptical about the one specific mental disorder that has limited medical literature many people on the internet have faked, and is the one that he has based his recent content around to an audience filled with children. If Beo can lie about how the Ko-fi was being spent, the progress of ChibiMation's code, promises to the community, situations involving their team members, and many more, is it so hard to believe or entertain the idea that he could be lying about the disorder he has based his identity around? Even if he does have DID, it doesn't excuse all his other actions. He cannot hide behind this disorder and run from accountability. It's been a few months since the change in management took place. While I would say that it's too early to tell if they are better than Beowulf in managing the game since he managed it for 4 years compared to their less than 3 months, I think they are doing a way better job. There are more updates on Object's progress with the game, and by the way things are going, Chibi may release before the year ends. When I have questions about what happened, the team has answered and been very polite. They have been transparent about what was going on behind the scenes, and I can see that they are passionate about making sure that both ChibiMation and Chibi will be released. My only criticism with them is how they shit-talk Soy and enabled Beo, but I'm sure they can compensate for that. I mean, it took me nearly 2 months to edit this video, yet there have been more consistent and content-filled updates from the team compared to Beowulf's updates in the past year. Finally, I have a message that I want to say to Beowulf and his alters, Alan, Chris, Priscilla, Gwen, Noelle, Solaris, Clara, Cody, Jen, Lyric, Salem, and the rest of the Starcatcher system. For once in your life, take accountability. You deserted your team when they needed you most. They should not be taking the brunt of the criticism or addressing problems caused by you. You can't keep sweeping problems under the rug and praying that they will go away. You are ChibiMation's founder and former director. All of the management decisions and finances were handled by you. The team and the community deserve to know what exactly happened to the Ko-fi donations. It is not acceptable to give mere estimates to where thousands of dollars went. You should address the way you have treated the people around you, from threatening critics like Soy over situations they had no fault in, falsely accusing team members like Hosea and Moose, to stealing GoFundMe money and depriving Kofu, a minor, of the basic human right to safe, sufficient, and nutritious food. You have no right to be a leader. How can you help guide the team when all they have seen are the lack of communication, mismanagement of funds, and poor treatment of team members? I believe that you should be kicked off the team, just like Femlol. How can you have a cut of the profit when it was your decisions that caused ChibiMation and its team to suffer? By the way, don't blame this on your DID or your other disabilities. When you posted your diagnosis, you claimed that you wanted to be a positive example of functional multiplicity. Being a positive example doesn't mean you reap only the benefits of having alters or have everything you do be showered with praise. You are not a positive example when you steal the faces of real people to depict your alters. You are not a positive example when you mismanage ChibiMation and blame it on your work alters. You are not a positive example when you disappear from the internet and leave your team to fix the mistakes you made. Having physical and mental disabilities shouldn't be an excuse to be a shitty person. Beowulf, if you are truly sorry, you would address all the allegations and criticisms. You would show receipts and documents for ChibiMation's expenses, and you would take down the face-claiming videos. It's October now, and you still haven't addressed your team's questions. I will not allow you to fade into obscurity and wait for things to blow over. Address everything, Beowulf. You can't hide forever.